Hi, I'm Sally Lee Loveman, author of Speak. Love your story, your audience is waiting, and I'm going to read to you a little bit of chapter 1. I never expected to be a speaker. In fact, my nursery school teacher, Mrs. Thompson, told my mother that I would never make a friend because I was so shy. Wasn't the nicest thing for my teacher to tell my mother, and it actually wasn't the nicest thing for my mother to tell me. Not exactly sure how I found out this fun fact, but I assume my mom told me, and I remember it upset me. Mrs. Thompson's words stuck with me at a very early age, and I was determined not to give power to her label. But the truth is that Mrs. Thompson wasn't completely wrong. I was shy. I never left my mother's side when I was young. I held on to her skirt and pant leg everywhere we went. And it didn't help that my mom was a world class, well, she still is, a world class practical joker, and I was easy prey. When we rode the elevator at Strawbridge and Clothier, our local department store, the doors would close. And if no one else was in the elevator with us, my mom would break into a tap dance known as the Buffalo Shuffle. I was terrified and thought her dancing would stop the elevator in between floors. The doors would open and she would walk out with full composure like nothing happened. I would walk out shook. One day, when I got off the school bus from kindergarten, I ran down the hill to my house, and when I got to the front door, I screamed, "Mommy, I'm home!" My mom replied, "I'm not your mother." Not funny. Trust me, I've discussed this at great length in therapy, and you would think that my mom is really mean. She's actually just really funny. I had to grow up to learn this. My mother's humor is her gift. She absolutely needs no prep for her jokes, and she knows her audience, a skill I've made a living out of. Luckily, I was able to move on to first grade without too much trauma, and I ended up graduating from high school with a homecoming queen title. La-di-da, right? There's no way Mrs. Thompson saw that coming, nor did I. But I still struggled in first grade, and I was scared of everything, especially Miss Baker. I couldn't be in the cafeteria when Miss Baker was lunch lady. She would come over to every student's seat to make sure we had finished our lunches. We even had to tilt our milk cartons over to prove that we'd finished our milk. What made the whole thing even more terrifying was that she used a microphone to announce our names if we hadn't finished, and I wanted no part of this. My mother called the principal's office and asked for Miss Baker's schedule, and on Miss Baker's lunch days, my mom made me half a sandwich instead of a whole sandwich because my mother's not mean, she's funny. That wasn't enough. Just the sight of Miss Baker would make me lose my appetite. So I asked my first grade teacher, Miss Brown, if I could stay in the classroom for lunch when Miss Baker was on duty, which meant I would miss recess too. Miss Brown said yes, and I hid in my cubby in the classroom when I heard people go by in the hallway because I was embarrassed that they might see me in a dark classroom. There was no way I was going to risk Miss Baker coming over to me with her microphone to ask if I'd finished my lunch and my milk. Funny how I love a microphone now and have no problem finishing my breakfast, lunch, and dinner and dessert. Around the same time, when I was scared of everything, I promised my mom that I would never leave her and live with her forever. We all make stupid promises. And I definitely broke mine when I grew up and moved to Chicago, right after college, for a television job at the PBS station WTTW. That was the same year Oprah Winfrey moved to Chicago to host a local morning show called AM Chicago. 2 years later, Oprah took her local show national and launched the Oprah Winfrey Show. 1 year after that, I was hired as the show's audience coordinator. I was 25 years old when someone unexpectedly handed me a microphone on the set and told me to warm up the studio audience. I had no idea what that meant. So I spoke from my heart, which was unexpected, and it worked. The audience was probably expecting a stand-up comic. Instead, they got me. But if you know me, like you know me, you know that my dream of doing stand-up is real. P.S. I did it. Having entertained over 500,000 people from the Oprah Winfrey Show stage, this scared little girl grew up to perform the audience warm-up on the stages of Caesar's Palace, Radio City Music Hall, the Sydney Opera House Forecourt, the Kodak Theater, now known as the Dolby Theater, Madison Square Garden Theater, Chicago's United Center, and a Michigan Avenue stage in Chicago where 23,000 people showed up to learn a flash mob dance. But in first grade, I chose to hide in my cubby because Miss Baker terrified me. We all have a Miss Baker in our lives. I have had many more Miss Bakers in my professional life. Miss Baker prepared me for all of them, and I managed to survive most. It's okay to be afraid. It's not okay to stay in our cubbies. If speaking in public scares you, get out of your cubby and take every opportunity to speak. Speak as much as you can until it becomes so routine that you no longer fear it. It will be uncomfortable, I get that, but our speaking experience accumulates, and every experience we have, no matter how big or small, counts. Each time we speak, we become more comfortable in front of an audience, and it grows from there. As the audience producer for The Oprah Winfrey Show, I was never nervous to perform the audience warm-up because I was so caught up in my purpose, which was seating the audience, that it never dawned on me to be scared. Connecting with people, getting the audience into the studio safely and seating them quickly so we could start on time when rehearsals ran long, and meeting every challenge that we faced along the way, and there were many, kept me from being too scared to speak to the audience. I was so focused on the business of making hundreds, sometimes thousands of people happy that I forgot I would be speaking on a stage in front of them. That business of making people happy gave me an opportunity to make friends with the audience, and we are never scared to speak to our friends. My friendship with the audience made me a better speaker, and I realized that others could benefit from my discovery. So if you read my book, Speak, you will get all kinds of tips on how to be a better speaker and be comfortable with it, not have fear, and actually look forward to it. Thanks. Peace.